This is Diego Accord here in the Ramblings of a Board Guy, and today I'm going to be talking about the trips that I took to Japan in last year. So I went twice, both times in September, beginning of the month and then the end of the month. So first trip was a week, second trip was 2 weeks. Now, that was not the original plans. The original plans were to go for the month of October, like I did in 23. So I would say that October of 2023, best month of my life, bar none. And, as great as that was, though, it still could have been better. There's one thing that would have made that better to me, and it's not something that was even on my mind at the time, and that is if I would have had my own car. So, for 24, I did not go to Japan. I decided not to go there because of all the over-tourism and whatnot. And, and the thing is, if you're not aloof, you are going to feel like if there is that sentiment that those articles were talking about and all that stuff, if you're not aloof, you're going to notice the difference. Like you're going to notice that stuff. And if you know Japanese a decent amount, then you're also going to know stuff. But a lot of people that go up there are aloof, and the Japanese are just the greatest people, and they can just be saying so much shit right there, even right on the train next to you. If they don't think you know what you're saying, they just keep that stone face and just but anyway, 25 started to roll around, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm not gonna let other people stop me from going. It doesn't make sense for me to do that because prices, the yen kept dropping, prices kept getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, so people are not going to stop going to Japan, so I'll do it. And then I offered my kid and my buddy as well. So, I offered them in 23, and for various reasons, neither took the trip. I offered my buddy first, who did not want to fly over the ocean, and I had to explain to him how the actual flight paths worked, because personally, home airport is CVG, and I make sure, you can't fly directly to Japan from there. So what I do personally is I make sure that my layover is I only do one layover. It has to be one layover, and the airports for the layover have to be New York, JFK, New Jersey, EWR, Chicago, ORD, or Minneapolis, St. Paul, MSP. Those are pretty much it. I would consider Atlanta only because I know somebody that lives in Atlanta that we could hang out. I'd have to do, I don't even know if I'd be able to do, it'd have to be like a split ticket so we could hang out for a bit. Unless, the layover was like naturally long or something like that. But that's the only other airport I'd even give a thought to. And I really wouldn't even want to do that because it might make me have to do another layover. Obviously I have to do two, like from here to Atlanta, and then from Atlanta to Japan. I don't even know if Atlanta to Japan, that may be a flight that Delta would do, but I'm not sure. So it would have to probably be Atlanta to the West Coast, like LAX or something, and then to Japan, which is an extra layover. And if you fly to Japan from LAX, you will be over that water for like 11 hours. But other than that, from the airports that I personally go from, you're over the airport, or you're over the water for like 3.5 hours or something at the end, because from those airports I listed, you fly into Canada, you fly up into Canada, you come back down through Canada, on the west coast of it, and then you are coming down through Alaska,
and the straight, and then after the straight you have about a good 3 hours, 3.5 or something like that to get to Haneda. And because you will be around the coast at that time, the plane could still go to probably Sapporo, New Chitose, if there are some kind of issues. You could go there before you reach Tokyo. So anyway, I explained that after the fact, and then I offered my kid, who would have had to come back as an unaccompanied minor at 8, and for there's people are less adventurous, so the expected answer was had, but then there was a lot of regret when we did any kind of FaceTime. So yeah, that's kind of how that was. And again, like I said, in 24, just decided not to do it. 25, offered them again, and the kid was already like, oh yeah, definitely yes. And my buddy was like, yeah, I'll do it, because this time I'm like, this could be the last time that a trip like this is offered. Because if I get to take my car to Japan, then Japan doesn't personally have anything to offer me after that point. So me going back there for any reason, if at all, I just don't really have one. So it would be a very long time if I did again, or it may not happen again, because that trip wouldn't be able to be beaten, in my opinion. So anyway, he was able to get 2 weeks off. I think he has 3 weeks a year he said that he could get. Now typically he's not able to get them consecutively, but explaining where he was going, they allowed him to get 2 of those weeks together. And I would say, as an aside, stuff like that is a reason that I would not do a private sector job as my primary job. Because it's you can't get any kind of fucking vacation that's, until you fucking own the damn place. If you're not the CEO, then it's I can just basically not go to work and show up for some publicity bullshit, and that's all I gotta do. Yay. But I mean, yeah, hey, you get a week of vacation after you've been here for a year, and then after you've been here for 5, you get 2 weeks of vacation, and then you can get 3, and I don't know what specifically his situation is, but I know, I wouldn't be happy with that amount of vacation. But that's another topic. So anyway, he was able to get that. And the other thing for me is to take the car. Take my Mustang over there. That's the most important thing. And getting the basic information, easy, right? There's just there's Carnet de Passage and Douane, CPD. That costs about $4,600. Then you have to get the car shipped. And the quote's there, $2,500 each way. The last thing you need is insurance. And that, my friend, is the thing that stopped me, because I could never, still to this day, I don't have solid information on where you actually get the insurance to drive your car on a Carnet. There is one site that pops up that says, if there are these companies, these insurance companies are around the Tokyo office of the JAF that will get you the insurance that you need to drive your car on a Carnet. And then when you click on that link, nothing. It doesn't matter what browser you change. You try to change any kind of settings, any of the right-click bullshit you try to do, different browser, even get it on a phone to do it, to see if those will pop up. Just can't get that information. But that's also the thing, is that it's not, it's not even official. If that link loaded and I was was able to get a quote, I'd be fucking perfect. It'd be perfect. So anyway, but that's the thing. So with the insurance, when I go to Japan and I drive a car, my insurance that I have is not what covers me to drive the car. My personal policy does nothing in that regard. So you're just being extended basic minimum insurance by the owner of the vehicle, aka the rental company. And then you add to that in order to try to save yourself liability if you do have an accident. So, but it's not your insurance that does anything. You could technically go, like, if I didn't have a car here and I had no insurance policy here for for whatever reason, I could still go to Japan and just by renting a car, I'm covered by minimum liability during that time. So, in order to drive your car, your own car though, you have to have that insurance, and it has to be given to you by a Japanese company to be relevant and legal. But without a Japanese license, like I said, the information on how to get that insurance is just not there. So, as the months are going past, and from initially planning this stuff in the beginning of the year, and then it's getting summertime, it's time to do some passports if we're serious. So obviously me and the SO do the kids' passport, and then my buddy does his like 3 days later, like after the weekend that we do ours. And yes, SO and whatnot, kids' mother, going to Japan is just not going to be a thing. It's not a place that she's interested in. The only interest that she has in going there is just because, like, I'm there personally, which is not enough of a reason if you're not into anything that Japan offers to go there. And then the other thing is, when it comes to the child, there is a bit of anxiety. And, there's going to be some things that she's not going to do. Like, she's not going to drive. I drive when I go to Japan. Most people don't drive. She would definitely be one of those people that's not going to drive. It's just like, even you can tell with people's driving habits and stuff. Like, anybody that parks, head in, like, just one of those people. Like, so driving in Japan just isn't going to happen. Now, imagine with the anxiety, you have an issue with, like, the internet being, like, kind of trash in one of those stations. You go to Shibuya fucking station, trying to see the crossing or something, and the stuff doesn't work. I'm like, and she's got the kid with her, she's going to, like, freak out, and it's going to make things not great. So, like, stuff like that is the reason that Japan together like that just is not going to be a thing. And they're going to do stuff that I'm not going to do, which, that's fine. Like, I don't care. Like, you want to go to see Disney or Universal Studios, I can definitely drop you off there. You two have fun. I'm going to do anything else. So I don't really care about that. It's just like if my buddy goes, I don't fucking, take it personally or anything if we don't do the same shit. Because, when we were kids, his family wanted to go to an amusement park, and I was like, and this is just like right when I started driving and stuff, I'm like, all right, cool, I'll do that, and then I'll leave a little bit early so I can go to do this other thing and stuff. And I remember distinctly that he got offended for some reason. Now, when it comes to like stuff like that, he's built differently than I am. To me, I would even look at it as all right, cool. And then I remember him coming to me later on, like, hey man, that trip going to that amusement park, man, you're uninvited. And I'm like, to me, I don't care. I'm just like, I didn't want to even like go to an amusement park anyway. So, but it was like, oh, this is my family. We trying to do this stuff. different in that manner. But anyway, it's like I'm just like, whatever you want to do. If we do the same stuff, we'll do the same stuff. If there's a day where you want to go out and see some stuff or do some stuff that I'm not trying to do, go and do that stuff. That's anybody. So anyway, but yeah, back to the timeline. As we are doing these passports, waiting on these passports, I still don't really have the information. I start getting the idea, because it is getting like August, and Kid's got her passport, Buddy does not have his. Now, what happens is they end up asking more information from him. Like, they want a fucking yearbook picture and some shit like that. They want him to do all this stuff, this extra stuff to get that passport. But it's getting to be, very close to September, and we've only got until October to do this. But I start getting an idea. I could get a license in Japan. Now, at this point, taking a car is just not going to happen. And also, if I don't take the car with me, if I can't take the car in Japan, I'm not going to do a month, because I don't want to be there for a month without my own car. Going to Japan for a month can only happen again if I've got my own car. Otherwise, that amount of time is a fucking waste. And some idiot just pulled out. He was at a red light on the side, did not even stop, and just fucking pulled out in his shitty ass Malibu. If I was driving, and it wasn't, I had a 2.0 T9 speed Malibu, which was actually fast enough to get out of its own way. He did not. If I was driving anything other than this fucking Jeep, he would not have had enough time to accelerate to be fast enough not to get smashed. So, anyway, so I decide to try to get the Japanese license, because I can't take the car at this time. It's just not enough time to do it, and I don't, I'm just not going to do a month. I'll do the same 2 weeks that they're going to do. Just come back with them instead of going, they were going to do like October 4th through the 17th, and then I was going to do, 31st, if I recall correctly. Now, so time's passing. I decided to I'm like, you know what? I can get a Japanese driver's license conversion. And if I get a Japanese driver's license, I don't have to worry about how to get insurance. I can easily get car insurance in Japan if I have the license. It's just like, oh, I have a red license, and the car that I want to insure is this kind of car. It takes away 100% of that guesswork in how and where to get the license or the insurance. So that's what I decided to do. And I go ahead and book a ticket for the beginning of September. And at this point, like I said, the car can't go over. It's not enough time for the car to go over. And I'm not going to guess on this insurance shit, because I can sure spend the money to get the car over, and for the CPD doesn't mean I'm going to get to drive the fucking car if I don't have the insurance. So this time I go ahead and book a flight on JAL, so Japan Airlines, and this is for a week. I'm gonna try to get the license, and I get a JAF, Japan Automobile Federation. I get a license translation started, and it should be done before I leave, and then I can go to the license office along with the other documents that I need and get that license. That is the plan. So I booked this flight on JAL. So after this flight, I do have both Japanese carriers under my wings. Pun not intended. So ANA, All Nippon Airways, and then JAL, Japan Airlines. Now, with Japan Airlines, there is a thing that you will hear, and that is that they run their cabins warm. And I will tell you that was warm is a little bit light for what they do. That fucking plane. So, this was also the first time that a plane type other than a 777 is what took me on the international leg of the flight. So, this was an Airbus A350-1000, the flagship plane of theirs, and the tail number, it's plane 08. If you know, like a full plane number, a full tail number, and how that system works, there's going to be multiple of the same type by the same carrier and whatnot, and it's typically, depending on when they got the planes, like if there's like a big like a pause in between when they actually got the planes or something like that, then they could have different type of order number system on it. But let's say if it's something like, if all the A350-1000s they have something like XJ08JA or something like that. That 08, so the 08 would be the plane in question. Like all the other planes will probably have, will have that same stuff but different numbers. Like, plane, 11, XJ110JA09. But this was plane 08. I do remember that much. So they had that thing fucking super duper fucking hot. It wasn't even warm on that plane. It was fucking boiling on that plane. And JAL, something that you would also know before going on them, before going with them, is that they do not have the vents over the seats as well. So that's just not going to be something that you get for your comfort as well. So, it is what it is. Now, I was able to survive because I had a fan that I could plug into the IFE. I had a USB fan, and it fit, just fit perfectly into the back of the seat, where it could just stay right there. And when I slept, I had to just, lean forward and keep that fan in my face and try to just, ignore everything else. So that's kind of how the sleep was able to work. So this time, I arrived there in Japan. I go get my car from the airport, and then I go to my room, which is in Taito. I stayed just right around the corner from where I stayed the very first time I went to Japan. And it felt like it was yesterday. The same police koban and that same supermarket. Because the first place I stayed was Ryokan Nakadaya. And this is right down the street from the Minami Senju station. And it's funny because there was a random video that was talking about Taito, and the thumbnail was actually the sign for Ryokan Nakadaya, and I recognized it immediately, and I posted something on there about that, hey, the thumbnail is Ryokan Nakadaya, which I've actually stayed at this exact location. And then I think I said some stuff about the area, because I think the video was saying that Taito was a quote unquote bad area, which I didn't see it. I didn't fucking see it at all, that it's a bad area. And even being at Minami Senju station, that the last call before, and just being in the elevator alone with some little Japanese woman, they don't it's it's just whatever, okay, cool, not even a big deal to them. I don't know what bad is. Bad for Japan. But I don't even know if the person was Japanese that made the video. But anyway, different topic. So, I get there, and, I am not going to do anything on this trip. I'm just here for a week, just trying to get that license. I just need that JAF license translation to be done so I can go to the license office and get that license. No reason to do anything because I will be back in October, right? No reason. So, time's getting of the essence. I do some basic stuff like, just walk through some areas. Just go to like an area per day. Don't really do much. I'm not gonna spend like money. I'm just gonna eat, do little stuff here and there. Just what's gonna be. And then the only thing that I really do is to get a car from Omoshiro, which I do every time until I get my own, until I can take my own car. Then I won't go to Omoshiro, or maybe I will go to Omoshiro just because. But anyway, I take out the DC5 Integra from Omoshiro that night, or one of the nights on that trip. And that, there's videos of me driving that car on the channel, of course, that you can find. Now, this car was pretty beat, and it shows, like, it is the reason that I don't like the idea of renting those cars from Omoshiro and stuff like that. It's just because, the condition of those cars are never great. I just bought a Skyline GTR R33, and I drove one of those in a previous trip from Omoshiro. The condition of mine and theirs is like fucking apples and oranges, because it also made me not, I guess, appreciate that car by that being the first one I drove. I drove their Evo back in 2019, their Evo 6, but and it was junky as well. But for some reason that didn't affect me. Maybe it was like the first time I'm driving this car that I always wanted to drive, and this is the first time I'm doing this stuff. It just, I don't know, but I didn't really feel that way. I felt the car was like definitely junky as hell, beaten and stuff like that. But I don't know. But when I drove the GTR, the 33 GTR, I was like, oh man, I wanted to take that shit back because of how junky it was. But I'd already gotten all the way to Tokyo, because basically what happened in that trip was that when I got in the car, they had the car idling and with the AC on and the windows up. So it's just like, all right, cool. And you drive on the highway, you drive your little hour that it takes to get back to a central location of Tokyo. And, by the time I get there, I roll the windows down, turn the AC off, and it's just like, I just hear all these fucking noises and shit. Like when I'm just driving around, it's just like, just like all these fucking mechanical noises, and I'm like, oh my god, this car is such a piece. So, I'm like, I want to take this back, but first off, I gotta drive an hour back there and then an hour back to Tokyo. So I lose 2 more hours, and then I have to choose another car. Like, if they let me choose another car, and they're not gonna give me the difference between, the price. There's cost tiers that they have, and I'm like, Skyline GTRs are at the top of that list. They're not gonna give me a refund if I decide to just get a fucking Civic of some sort. So I'm like, yeah, I'll just keep the fucking GTR, because the chance that it will actually fully break while I have it, I don't think is that super high. So I'll just fucking deal with it. That's why I kept the car. anyway, the license does not get, or the translation does not come. That's something you gotta get when you're there. They'll tell you that it's done, and then you have to go to a convenience and print it out yourself and take it, do what you need to do with it. I actually still have that translation, but it doesn't do any good for me now. So, and this is another thing that I haven't said. There's a deadline in order to get this license. That's something you could do. You could have done without any problems before. But with the over-tourism and the fact that you don't need to be a citizen or even a resident to get the license, Japan put a change that went into effect. It was going to go into effect on October the 1st of 2025. That you had to be a resident. Because of a lot of shit that people were doing by getting Japanese licenses and having accidents and then like skipping out and shit. So basically mainland Chinese. So anyway, that had to be done before that. So at this point I'm like, fuck, we go back like after October, I can't get this license, sucks. So on the way back, of course, it's JAL again, and this time it is a 777, so we are back on the 777. However, this time it's the complete opposite of how it was the first time in terms of the temperature. That plane is a fucking icebox. And of course, with it being JAL, there's no overhead vents, regardless of the plane type. It's just something that they do as a company. They do not have overhead vents on their planes. But it was fucking cold. I had to use the blanket, and my fucking feet, like my ankles and shit, were cold. And but the thing is, I can deal with being too cold when I sleep. It's easier for me to sleep when it's too cold as opposed to it being too hot. Which, when it comes to my temperature, my seasons, I prefer the opposite. The warm part of the year is the better part of the year by far. And as far as I'm concerned, in the cold part of the year, I don't want to do fucking shit. If I don't have to do it in order to actually survive, I don't fucking do it. This means going places, doing things, so on and so forth. I will go to work. I will go and possibly get food. Possibly. So anyway, very cold trip on the way back. So anyway, I get back, and then the JAF translation's done, like right when I get back. So I'm like, oh, that's great, sweet, cool, excellent. But a couple days later, my buddy tells me that he's not gonna be able to get the passport, like the stuff that they want. He's not gonna be able to get that stuff in time, and doesn't think it's gonna happen. So I haven't bought the tickets for that second flight, for that second trip yet. Anyway, because I need a passport number in order to do it, because I know you can buy tickets without a passport from the airlines themselves, but I was going through my travel portal from my credit card, that a travel card. I wanted the points and stuff like that. I mean, basically one of the trips was a Greyhound. I haven't seen a fucking Greyhound down here in fucking ages. But anyway, one of these trips was basically free. Like, one of the tickets was free anyway because of the credit card. So, that was obviously how I was going to do that. And then, I get the points for buying these tickets, which means that, hey, the next trip, the next time is also probably going to be free. So, cool. Now, oh man, it's going to rain tomorrow. I should have driven the GTR around tonight, but there's nothing. Like, there's just, nothing to do with it. I don't want to just, drive aimlessly
not in that car. Like, I don't want to put miles on that car just doing that. So, wah, 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 wah. Now, anyway, so I said to get back, he's out, and with that being the case, I could move the trip up. I haven't, bought the tickets or anything like that, so it's like, okay, whatever. I'll just when he says that he's out, I go to work the next day, tell him, that second trip that I was gonna do here, just move that up a day, like a week and a day. So I ended up leaving on a Friday. So the first trip was on the 6th of September. The second was on the 26th of September. So I moved that trip up, and it's gonna be just me and my kid. I'm still gonna take my kid, and we don't have to worry about, being, her not going with me on the way back or anything like that. It's still gonna be fine. And so this time I end up booking. So this booking goes by who has the best seat available, because it is like very close to the day of the trip when I buy these tickets. So, a lot of these planes are full, damn near full. And ideally, it would have been ANA or Delta is who I would have wanted to go with for this flight. But I went by the best seats available, and the best seat available was United. So I booked with United, and this is also another new type of plane for this trip, and that is going to be the Dreamliner, the 787-10 is what I'm going to be on for the international leg of the trip. So we're going to do 2 weeks. We're going to do the golden route, Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, back to Tokyo to leave. But also Fuji, because I didn't do Fuji, by myself. And, this trip, so we leave, go to Chicago. I have the nastiest pizza ever at Reggio's in the airport. And, I have some PTSD, like trying to leave ORD and go get some good fucking pizza. I have some PTSD trying to do that. I fucking missed like multiple flights on one of my trips back. Landed at ORD on the way back, and I'm like, all right, I'll get a car. Like, it's a lot of money to rent a fucking car from the airport, and especially to drive it like fucking a mile. But that's what I did. But I was fucking late. I was late getting back. Missed that flight. So I had to go, from one terminal, take the car back, one terminal to the other terminal, and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, that day was a fucking mess. I shouldn't have done that. So I had PTSD, which meant, like, you know what? I gotta eat here and not go out to, like, Lou Malnati's or something. I can't do that. Where did I go? It was Giordano's is where I went on that trip. So anyway, I had the nastiest pizza ever. We do the trip, and I feel like on United, they come down the aisles like fucking way too often, personally. But I guess I could see how that would be helpful for some people. They would be like, yeah, great customer service, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, we arrive at the airport. Now, the Wi-Fi is out in this plane, and that is going to fuck some shit up later, because I have a car rented. This is the first time that I'm not just going with Nissan rent-a-car. So typically, every time so far, I just get my car from Nissan Haneda Otori Ekime. That is where I get my car. car. That's just what the fucking place was called. It was just going to be a Honda Fit for this trip. Now, I put in a general time of arrival on that booking. This is through Klook. And so I put a general time of arrival, and they, and without the Wi-Fi working on the plane, so they were trying to get in contact with me, from the time that I put, which was like a bit earlier than we landed. And by the time that we got settled in the airport and I was able to finally get my phone to connect to SoftBank, which is what I have to do to get my my roaming. Man, what the fuck? This damn thing, I can't even tell what fucking lane it's in. This little people mover bullshit. I'm just gonna turn red on this light, man. Fuck this. This dumbass fucking just staying in the way. There we go. Now, anyway, back to the story. So, I'm unable to get the car because they try to reach out to me. Now, I assumed that they were handled by the car rental desk in Haneda. As many times as I've been there at this point, I just, you just go to the car rental desk and you fucking, they'll tell you where to go, or you can tell them you know where to go to get the car through the Haneda garden, some garden, something or other shit. You go down the elevator, and then you wait for this place, and then the person from the actual car agency, like Nissan or whatever, will come and get you. So that's what happens. Or no, that's not what happens. Sorry. This place, turns out they're not handled by the airport rental car desk, which is something I did not know. And but they tried to reach out, and all the messages came through after I was connected. And their people that they have, I guess, so it still would work the same as the rental car desk. They have people that are there, and then they'll take it to get the car or whatever. But by the time I was ready, they said that their people were gone for the day, and I could go to their main office at like 8 p.m. And I'm like, the whole purpose of me getting a car, especially, is to not have to deal with the shit at the beginning of the day when you arrive. Because that's the thing. All these people that don't like to drive when they go to Japan, nobody likes to drive. They go to Japan, they're like, oh, I only want to do the trains and stuff. It's so much better than at home. I don't have to drive. So I get it. You want a vacation from having to drive. However, they will spend all the money in the world, way more than it costs to actually rent a car, to not have to deal with getting on a train after they get to Haneda. Or what's the other one that I've never been to? Gosh, I know it, but for some reason I'm brain farting right now, and I can't even remember what the other name or the other airport is. But anyway, when they get to these airports and stuff, they'll spend like hundreds of USD to be transported with their luggage to their their destination, to like their rooms and shit. But yet they won't just drive. I'm like, you can just drive and you won't have to deal with that. But anyway, so that that car, getting that car from that place is not going to happen, because I'm not going to drive, or I'm not going to get on a train. Fuck all of that. I just don't want to do that. So I go to the desk, see if they have anything available, and Nissan is what they have. So normally I have my car booked, I always just go with Nissan. I book it before I get there, but obviously I booked something else. So this time it's just they got to get me what they can get me, and it's
car for 2 weeks. But on the way, to the place, after the guy from Nissan picks me up, I get in contact with that rental car company, and I'm like, I can get, I have a car for today, and I will get to you, I will bring it back tomorrow, because I was going to get it for the 2 weeks, but I'm like, you know what, I'll just take this car today, I'll take it back tomorrow at 12, and I'll get your car. And they're like, yeah, sure. And that's the last thing for that day. So when I get there, because, I asked the guy for a week, and that's what I was going to pay, but then when I got to the location, I'm like, you know what, just give me for tonight, give me the car for tonight. And, okay. So we do that. I go back to the airport the next day, go to the room. And also, the room is in Yoshiwara, which I know that's where the soaplands are. But I did not know that we would be actually where the soaplands are in Yoshiwara. Because we were literally next to a place called Dulce. Big pink and yellow sign, you can't miss it. Now, the kid just sees it as, Japan stuff. Just big, those fucking bright signs that are everywhere anyway, and that's all it looked like to her. But, because, I've driven through Yoshiwara before. There's a video of a guy slapping another guy on the street. That was on my channel, and that was in Yoshiwara. But I saw no sign nor hint of Soapland in that, during that drive. So, I was not expecting this to be, there. But it was. So anyway, we get settled in the place, and then the next day I take the Nissan back to the airport, and then I don't hear anything from these people. I'm like, what the fuck, man? I said 12 o'clock. I don't have anything. So then I have to tell the same guy from last night. I'm like, brother, I need another car for 2 weeks. I'm not going to bother explaining what happened, but just give me another car for 2 weeks. And this time it ends up being Toyota, so I get a Prius, and it costs way more than the fucking Nissan did. And that Nissan, being like day of, cost a lot more than the Honda Fit did. So this is just great. But anyway, I take the car, and I'm just like, at this point, I'm not going to deal with getting the Fit. I don't even care about getting that car anymore. I just got this Prius for 2 weeks. That's just what it's going to be. So, yeah, that's just the move. Prius, 2 weeks. So, and now, since I've moved the trip up, I can also print out my license translation. So what I do on that Monday is go to the Fuchu license office with all the documents I need to get a Japanese license. And then they put a wrench in that. They tell me that I need a reservation to turn in the documents. So previously, you always, if you had to take a test to get a Japanese driver's license, you always had to do that. You always had to make an appointment to do that, and you were always going to be months out. However, you did not have to take out you did not have to do a reservation to turn that in. You just wanted to get there at the beginning of the day, and you would have it by the end of the day. You would have the license by the end of the day if you didn't have to take any tests. However, recently, within those last couple months, they changed the rules to where you needed to have a license, or you needed to have a reservation to do that. And that put me by default beyond October 1st. So I literally could not do it no matter what. And there isn't a thing where you made the reservation before October 1st. No, just if it's after then, which they had no availability, because I still have the papers. I still have everything from that time. So just impossible. Yeah, just not gonna happen. So, it sucks. It is what it is. Now, if I were there by myself, I would have fucking left the country, period. Knowing that this is the final, it can't be done. You can't get the car, or you can't get the license. Because now, at that point, I'm just like, I can just do that shit next year. I can get the license, and I can take the car next year. So, it's finally, completely lost the ability to get the license. But anyway, since I got my kid here, that's just what the trip is about. So, we just do things. The only thing that I have interest in doing is going, for myself, honestly, it's going to Tatakai Tuesday, which is a fighting game thing. And unfortunately, the week, the first, that first trip, I did try to go to Tatakai Tuesday, but they were doing a tournament that was I think a Capcom major, so they weren't doing Tatakai Tuesday, so you had to be and this was something you had to already be signed up for and shit like that. And then same thing kind of happened that second time I was there. So there were basically 2 Tuesdays that had passed in between that, and this just also ended up being a fucking day where it was not a regular Tentakai Tuesday. So that's the only thing that I really wanted to do. So, didn't really do that, but that is 3-minute walk from because it's in Nakano. And so go to the mall there, the Nakano Broadway, which I told a buddy about that when he finally got to go to Japan and shit a couple months ago, and he went to Tatakai Tuesday, and I was like, dude, since you're over there, you walk 3 minutes down that fucking street and go to Nakano Broadway. That fucking place is amazing. And literally, he messages me dude, that fucking place fucking amazing. And he made that his his profile pic is him walking through Broadway. So yep. But anyway, so we did that. Had KFC. Now I've had KFC that said not gonna have that shit before. Wanted to get some other stuff, but the kid, when it comes to the food in Japan, with it being seafood and stuff like that, the kid has had a reaction to some shellfish on a vacation before that I wasn't a part of. So, she just wanted stuff, American ass shit, which I understand, because hell, even without such a thing with myself, I had McDonald's 90% of the first trip. So, but this time, on this trip particularly, I decide that I'm not gonna eat. I mean, I still had more McDonald's than I really wanted, but what I ended up doing is, okay, you can have your McDonald's. You can't bring food into other places, so I'm gonna go here to this place, and you eat this McDonald's, and then you just come when you're done, and you don't have any food. You gotta eat it all, or whatever you're not eating, you have to throw away before you can come in here. And then, she just comes in there and if there's any questions, either she comes over, or if there's any questions, and I'm what the shit was me? Just tell them that that's my kid or whatever, and then if they want to place some food, McDonald's. So she ate McDonald's. My kid, she already ate. So, but that's how food ended up going. Like either I went to McDonald's with her, and then there was just, and they had most of the McDonald's had the kiosks. The only McDonald's that really didn't have a kiosk that I had to order for was the one by Mount Fuji. I think that was it. So I had to do that. Now anyway, so we just do basic like Tokyo shit, and then we go to Kyoto after that, and we do some things like the monkey park, which is not something that I do by myself or whatever. I didn't do that when I was there. Went on Shijo Dori, and she wanted to be on that riverbank down there. And I think one night we went to get some food at a pizza place called Goichi Pizza. And then she went to Yasuka Shrine and went to Fushimi, of course. Had a day out, like the Monkey Park day. Just did a bunch of stuff in Arashiyama, since that's where it was at. Went to the bamboo forest. Did not do that myself, but we didn't end up doing it. Got there and it's just like, oh my god, there's so many people. And this was like 7 p.m. Like, well, not gonna be a thing. Definitely not gonna be a thing. So, but the night of going to Fushimi was interesting because I, so at the bottom of Fushimi, when you get there, I had to use the restroom. All right, I had to use the restroom like pretty badly. So I do that at the bottom in those horribly nasty ass bathrooms, and then we start going up, and I start feeling it again. And by the time we get to another point, so the previous time that I'd gone to Fushimi, I did not go all the way. I got to a certain point where, this was at midnight and I'm the only person there. And what it looked like to me is that I got to the highest point that I could get to, because it looked like it wrapped around, like, a certain part, it just wrapped around and you just went back down. Like, all right, okay, I got there. That's cool. And I didn't find out until after that trip was already over and people are showing like more pictures of their time on, at Fushimi. And I'm like, hold the fuck on. Like, what the hell? And it turns out I didn't go anywhere near the top. So I'm like, I gotta do that again. So this is the time to do that. So anyway, like I said, you had to use the restroom pretty bad. Get a decent way up there, and then there's a clearing that you end up being able to see like a decent view of Kyoto from, and you're about halfway up when you get there. And before you get to that point, you'll see signs, which I didn't even get to that point before. You'll see these signs that say there are no restrooms from here, from this point up. No restrooms, because this is sacred land, and using the restroom is basically desecrating this stuff. So, oh man, and it's just getting worse and worse. I'm trying to get up there. I'm like, man, I want to get up there. I want to do this. I want to get this out of the way. But yeah, it gets to a point where I gotta clench and head back down as quickly as possible. Can't go too fast, because then shit's not gonna be great. Can't go too slow, because shit's also not gonna be great. So just gotta find that rhythm of going down there, trying to get down there as quickly as possible. So, I do that, blow that restroom up once again, And, I get out, and she's like, yeah, security guard went in there after you, like right after you. I didn't see him. And I'm like, well, if he was being a nosy bitch or something, and he smelled what I did, that's what he gets. So, yeah. I didn't hear anybody ask me if I was over the Scott. Nothing helpful. So, he got a nose full of whatever the hell I had that day. So anyway, that was that, and then the next move is on to Osaka. I don't remember if there's anything else about Kyoto that stood out. Hell, I don't even remember where we stayed in Kyoto. Now in Osaka, I remember where we stayed because it cost $900 a night. So we moved to Osaka, which is obviously a pretty short drive, and it was about time to check in. And we get to this place, go to check in, and they said there's something up, like the room that was booked is not a double, and it needed to be a double. So they're like, well, all right, the only doubles we have are on a smoking floor. I'm like, oh, smoking floor. Like, I didn't know anything about any smoking floors. That doesn't sound good. They're like, well, if you want to check it out, you can go up there, check it out, see if you can deal with it, and if not, we'll just go ahead and refund the deal. And we go up there, open that door, look at each other. It takes 0.04 seconds for us to say, nah. So now, and here's the thing with this, that year, both of those trips so far, my internet has been atrocious on my phone. Typically it had been like decent, not as good, obviously not as good as when you're just at home, but better than it was on these trips. So I pull up booking.com. I'm like, man, I gotta get a room, because you gotta check out at 10 o'clock or so is when you typically gotta check out, and then when you check in, that's about 3, 4, something like that. So in between checking out, we go to the shopping street around Shijo Dori, go do that, and then go eat at that McDonald's there, and then it's time to go to Osaka, which it takes like fucking 40 minutes or something like that. Well, an hour with some traffic. So I'm just like, I want to just get the fuck into the room for a bit. But anyway, I'm trying to find something now, since that place has a smoke smell. And oh, you better believe they're fucking trying to algorithmically fuck me in the ass. So this place, Namba, was it Apartment Hotel 11 Namba? Fucking, that place pulls up $900 a night. So I'm like, oh man, I guess I'll do, still gonna do a couple nights here, so we do a couple nights there. But I get there, and it's like it's a nice room, but I don't know if it's $900 a night nice. Definitely the nicest place, the nicest room I've ever had in Japan, but also by far the most expensive. Most expensive room I've had anywhere. I'm like, 900. What would you get in America for $900 a night? I kind of want to know, because I don't consider traveling within the states to be something that I would actually want to spend that kind of money on. I didn't want to spend that kind of money there, but I had no choice. So anyway, Hotel Apartment 11 Namba, and you could walk right down the street to the Namba City building in Namba City South, which do. If you ever had to go to a new city for whatever reason, see what kind of mall they had, just go through it. It's like, oh, this is fucking great. Just, being a kid, going to malls, fucking nothing beats that. Well, being a fucking an adult and going to malls, nothing still beats that. People and their shittiness and Amazon, whatever. People are trash. So, anyway, out there, do some, some things. Go to, like I said, the Namba City buildings. Do a little bit of shopping. Went to some arcades. Went to Dotonbury. Got on the boats that go down that river in the middle there. Something I didn't do that myself, of course. Like, why would I do that? But she wanted to do it, so we ended up doing that, and it was all right. So, just did that. Now, the only thing that, to me, I'm like, oh man, didn't get to go over to the castle. I loved the castle. My favorite pictures that I ever took in Japan are those that I took at the castle. So I didn't go there because that, basically that day it was just a little, it was getting late. We had been out all day, of course, as you do when you go to Japan. And I could have gone, but, kid was puckered out by that time. So I'm like, all right, we're just going to go. I don't know if we probably just went to the room and ate or something, if we hadn't already eaten. So, just whatever. And then, then it was time to check out after a couple days there. And we went to Nara. I knew that was going to have to be a thing. Because, I went to Nara myself. But, of course, her seeing the videos and stuff like that of that trip. Oh, you definitely want to go there? Want to do that? Nah. So, we did that, and it was fucking pouring down the entire time. So I'm standing under, like the restroom or whatever. I'm trying to stand under that shelter. It's like, me and a couple other people trying to, stay as dry as possible under there. And, it's just basically it's just going to keep raining. It's just inevitable that it's just not going to work. So, anyway, I'm like, look, you go enjoy that stuff because, her being a kid of 10 at that time, I don't know. I just feel like I would have been a little more I don't want to be wet. Like, there's some certain very kid-like things that still exist. I don't know. I'm not that age anymore. I don't know. But she just didn't care about being wet out there. And I would have been like, fuck, I gotta. But obviously, for me, I'm like, man, I gotta drive. We have to go to Mount Fuji today. We gotta go to fucking Kawaguchi. We gotta do that shit. We gotta drive 5 hours. So, staying over there is also something I didn't do before. I wanted to, but I was like, you know what? When I was driving back from Nara that time, I'm just like, I'm gonna get this trip out of it. I'm gonna get to fucking Tokyo. Get back to Tokyo. Tokyo! What the fuck is Tokyo? No, but, so, yep, we go ahead and get out there, get to the room, and this is the first place that get to stay without having to fucking pay to park for once. Jesus, all the times I've been in Japan, all the places I've been, all the places I've stayed, this is the first time that free parking means free parking. Because even, you're looking at Airbnb and shit like that and booking.com, it should say free parking. I'm like, where the fuck's it at? Because I don't recall ever having it except for that fucking place. So, yeah, we go out on the boat. So initially, kid wants to do the paddle boats, and I'm like, I guess. But as we're out there and shit, and the speed boats are going past, there's so many fucking, like, the waves and stuff like that. I'm like, the wake of those speed boats when they go past you. I'm like, man, we are so... Excuse me. The side of this boat is so close to the water. I'm like, man, just a smidgen more of a wake, and this fucking thing is getting flooded, and we are gonna have to swim. And I don't want to be fucking wet, because after this, it's still a trip to take. There's still a trip to take. Now, anyway. So, and that's the second day. So we only stayed like the one night at around Fuji, and unfortunately, so we get off of the paddle boats, and then we just go on the speed boats. I'm like, all right, well, we can do the speed boat, and unfortunately, the mountain is covered this day. Can't see it. So the girl that's driving the boat, just like airdrops pictures of it on like a clear day, which I'm like, to me, like, I don't really need that, because her airdropping that picture or those pictures it feels the same as if I just downloaded a picture off of Google of Mount Fuji. It's not a picture that I took personally, so But anyway, we do that, and then we do some shopping around and whatnot, and then it's time to go eat. So we go to the McDonald's, which, we went to the McDonald's the night before, like after we checked in or whatever, went to eat at McDonald's, and then we went to that same one on the way back. And I had to we just set out in the car for it was a while, because like I said, you check out at 10 o'clock, and then you don't check in until about 3 or so. So we did that. I just stayed out there because we had such a long time. I'm just like, let me relax, let me sleep, because I didn't really sleep that well that night anyway. And I'm like, the trip from like Fuji to Tokyo, it's like, what, 2.5 hours or something like that. It's way more time than we have, and I don't really want to be back in Tokyo before we get to, before we get to check in. I just want to be able to check in and just like fucking take this shit in the room and relax. So that's what we do after the amount of time has passed to where we would be arriving in Tokyo at that time. And this time we are in Nishi Shinjuku, also a pretty expensive place to stay. So we get there, and I stopped the car like right at the corner of where the place was at, and a cop takes exception to this, tells me to go park the car, and I'm like, man, that kind of sucks, because the place to park the car is like pretty far away to like carry all this shit. So all the shit was out of the car, which is fine. So I'm like, all right, whatever, I'll just take these one more bags out of the fucking car, and I will just drive the car down and give it and park it. So and then I see him walking, or I see him riding his little bike after I park. Give me a look like, so anyway, that happens. We get in the room, just do some more Tokyoing, some more Akiba-ing, and stuff like that. And then I go to Omoshiro and get the FD2 Civic Type R like the very last night. So the way that it's going to have to work is that since it's the last night, I don't normally, get an Omoshiro car on the last night of a trip. But this time, that's how I did it. So I was basically just going to have to put my stuff, put our stuff in that car. I put some stuff, that I definitely knew we were not going to need in the Prius before. And also, I got a cool picture of when I was going to Tetekai Tuesday. Fucking Lamborghini fucking parked next to me. And that was pretty cool, man. But it's kind of funny how, the Lamborghini, they looked similar. They looked more similar than they should look together in this picture. Which I should make the thumbnail of this video. I'm going to make that the thumbnail of the video. Thanks, me, for reminding me. But that was, the first time in Tokyo, going to the Nakano. Going to Tetekai Tuesday. Now, I don't know if I tried to go to Tetekai Tuesday the second time, if I even had time. I don't remember. But anyway, I did go to, like I said, Omoshiro, got the Civic Type R. Put stuff in the Prius, and you leave your car there at Omoshiro's lot. And then, the rest of the little stuff we're going to do that night. We'll take whatever else to Omoshiro with us and then put it in the Prius. So that last night was pretty fucking busy. Really, I just didn't get any sleep. So, we did some shopping. And then, I think we did some shopping the day before. We had to do we did most of the final shopping the day before. At Donkey and stuff like that to find stuff to take home. And then, so that was most of that was complete at that time, the day before. And then the day with the Civic, did a little bit more shopping after I had the Civic, went to Akiba the last night. She wanted to play games and stuff like that. So we did that, and then also went to some Donkeys and some other places to do some final shopping. And then I went to Daikoku and so it was Daikoku and then also Tatsumi. And we ended up being at Tatsumi for a very long time because at Daikoku though, ended up buying some kind of ice cream or something. But then we went to Tatsumi and since I had a Civic Type R, I actually saw another Civic Type R, FL5 Civic Type R from Omoshiro. I could tell it was Omoshiro's because of the license plate. And then, of course, when I finally parked, it had the bumper sticker on it. But you can just tell by the license plate because, it's going to say that it's from Noda. And it's going to have the rental car symbol. The hiragana for rental car, which is usually wa. And then, like I said, issued from Noda. So I knew it was a Omoshiro car, but then, I'm sitting there and then somebody comes up to me. I'm talking to this guy. It's this Asian guy from Germany. We're talking and then somebody comes up and it's an Asian guy from New York, him and a black guy from New York as well, and they're like, who has a Civic Type R there? And I'm like, I got that. And then he's like, and the black guy was like, oh man, so because you have that, I wasn't able to get it because I guess they wanted to both have Civic Type R's and shit. And he wanted that one, the one that I had. So, yeah. But then, we're all talking and shit. We all just start having a conversation, like me and the original guy I was talking to, him, his friend. Like, we just start talking. This shit goes on for like a very long amount of time. Very, very long conversation. And then, I got to do another. And they're like, yeah, we're going to go. I got the R34 tomorrow and shit, GTR. So, we round out that conversation. I do another lap on the C1 Express. I got, I have video of that on the channel, that last little drive. Actually, you see me pulling out from Tatsumi parking area. There's a video of me specifically doing that after that. So, this trip's been all night. Like, this is a long ass night. So I get to the room. We get to the room after I do my laps on the C1. I get to the room and then I go. It's real late. So we go to the Donkey that's in Kabukicho. I park somewhere. We go there. It's really fucking late. So I'm like, man, anything else that we need to do before we leave? Because when I get up to take this car back, we are not doing anything else in Japan other than going to the airport. So we go there, get the final round, final last things, and then we go back to the room. It's already light outside. I mean, it gets light very early in Japan anyway, so we do that, go back out. It's fine. We go back, whatever. And then I'm pretty sure that I don't even know if I go to sleep, because I'm like, if I go to sleep, I'm probably not going to get up in time. So, but maybe I did for an hour or so. I don't know. But anyway, go to Omoshiro, give them the car back, and I see those guys we were talking to the last night going actually picking up the GTR from them. So, and that guy, so the original guy I was talking to, the Asian guy that was from Germany, he had an M4, had some kind of daily, I forget what it was, some kind of Volkswagen or something, if I recall correctly. And then the Asian dude had, the Asian dude from New York had a 32 GTR or something, and I forgot what the black guy had, but I added him on Insta, and I only have a very few people on Insta, so I could probably just look later. But yeah, so anyway, get to the airport, or no, I don't even get to the airport. So I swap the cars out, give them their car back, see those guys. All right, heading out to leaving Japan today. Actually, I said last night, that's what we're doing. So you guys have fun with the GTR, and then it's time to head from Omoshiro directly to the Toyota place. And man, it's even with my eyes open, man, I feel like I fell asleep on that drive multiple times. So get to that Toyota place, and they shuttle you back to the airport, and then it's time to leave. So do that, go to the lounge for a while, eat some food, and done. It's time to get back on the plane, which is another 787-10, and that's it. So that was Japan in 2025. 2 trips, failed to get the license. It still may be possible to get the insurance, and that will determine, if I could ever 100% determine that I can get insurance from, whatever, Sony Sampo or Tokyo Marine or whatever, to cover a fucking carnet visit, then I would go to Japan. But I'm not
I don't want to go to Japan for any other reason other than that. The only way I would ever, other than like taking my car to Japan, let's say if I lost everything, then I would pick up and try to go to Japan and see if I could make something happen in life. And that would be something that happened, like, let's say, if this administration, like, fucked up government jobs or something, then that would be a problem. Because, I kind of alluded to, like, when I was talking about how much time that my buddy gets off, and just, like, in general, how that kind of is with those jobs. I mean, of course, I've worked private sector jobs for a much longer period, and that, when you know what you got compared to how that shit is, it's just like, So, I mean, I don't want, like, I've actually accepted another job. Like, I now have 2 jobs. I could be working 100 hours per week, literally, because I want to be able to have shit. I want a goddamn Ferrari next. So, how am I going to get my Ferrari? I'm going to work more. Now, this is a private sector job. Doesn't offer what I am already offered, but it's a secondary job. So it doesn't have to. Now, if I were only working in this job, I would not be fucking happy with life. It'd be a fucking huge downgrade. But as a secondary job, it doesn't matter as much. Like, if I lost my main job for some reason, I would fucking quit this second job, and I would just, all right, go to Japan. And I don't expect to be followed, so that would just be basically dissolution of the family, because I'm not going to be I'm kind of going into more serious things than just like, oh well, trips, cars, games, and stuff like that. But basically, in a situation like that, I would have to be being taken care of, because there are things that I'm not going to get up in the morning to do certain things for a certain amount of money. It's just like that, I will just lose everything and cease to exist. We can just put it like that. If it came down to it, like, why the fuck would I get up out of the bed to not do what I can do now? Right? So, but we'll see. That's like way, way, way out. Hopefully, way, way, way out. And that is going to be it for this video. I don't know what's going to come next. Maybe I'll do another video with the GTR. It ain't going to happen tomorrow. I know it's going to fucking rain all day. Gonna fucking rain all day tomorrow, so I won't be driving any kind of cars, especially not the GTR. Oh yeah, my Mercedes is on Cars and Bids. We will see, my friend. And this guy who questions everything, I had a question posted on it, like, why is the C63 style bumper on there? Is it from some kind of, it's not listed under modifications. Is it some kind of thing that somebody tried to fix? That's not on the Carfax? And I'm like, it's not even a C63 style bumper. It's like literally the factory bumper that I had them wrap the little, the sides, like the little air intake sides or whatever, so it would just be all black instead of white, to make it look like a C63 bumper. That was the idea, to make it look like one without having to spend the actual money on a C63 bumper. So it's funny that he thought that that's what it was, but I would definitely a thing. So that's gonna be it for this video. An hour and 31 minutes. Jesus. And see you later.